I thought I would just start by asking Debbie how this enormous, expansive, lavish production started. What was the small little thing that became this enormous, fantastic thing?
Well, I guess it was a conversation with so the people who made Poldark, Mammoth Screen. They came to me and said, we would like to do another, classic series. What would you think of the Forsyte saga? And so I said, well, there's already been 2 amazing series of the Forsyte saga, so why would we do that? And they then said, is there something, but do you like the books? Is there something in the books that you like? And I said, well, I love a family saga. I always love to write about families and intergenerational rivalries and conflict. And it's also a really interesting period of history that it's set in, particularly for women, because it's the beginning of the kind of rise of the suffragettes, and it's also the time when women were actually allowed to keep any property they brought with them into a marriage. And I just thought, some of the women characters, they really kind of fascinated me, but they were, some of them were drawn quite sketchily in the books. Some of them quite mysterious. I think in particular the character of Irene, very mysterious. You didn't really get to know about what motivated her. And then the character of Frances, who's only mentioned in a family tree in the book, but clearly she's a crucial part of the story. So I suppose what we decided to do was kind of look at what might have happened before the books started, and that was really our starting point.
And how does that you were invited to make this production, and how did the development of that, how did the pushing for a story that begins before the books even begin, in a way, was that an easy thing to convince people that was the way forward?
Not really, because I think we weren't sort of trying to, we weren't trying to kind of copy anything that had gone before. And I think everybody understood that we were kind of exploring the world, but not necessarily taking all of the stories, but giving some of the characters who are only briefly mentioned in the books more stories. I mean, it's all fiction, it's all fiction, it's all storytelling.
And for those, the characters who are barely mentioned, many of those are the women who are far more front and
I love
centre.
the idea that, Frances she's not even mentioned by name in the book. Joe's first, she is barely a footnote. She's, we hear of her as being Jolene's first wife, but there is no actual mention, and you wouldn't know she existed but for the fact that there is a family tree at the beginning of the book. And I was thinking, who is this Frances, and what, how did she come to be involved in this family? What kind of a person was she? What sort of a character did she need to be in this family? So it was great to be able to be given the freedom to kind of invent a life for her.
And do you have all 6 episodes mapped out, or did you have a first episode and then casting begins and those sort of?
No, we have all the episodes really before the casting starts.
One of the many great things about working with you.
Well, I just,
all 6 episodes are there.
I just want, in a way, I need to have that for myself. I need to know what the scope of the story is. I don't want to be kind of. Obviously, one is making it up as one goes along, but one needs to know what the end point of the story is. So yeah, I do like to have all of the scripts ahead of time before we actually go into pre-production.
And working with Damien again, and Mammoth,
Yeah.
and then but also working with PBS,
Yep.
who are fairly new to making their own shows. They bring a lot of shows in themselves, and I know that's a tricky thing, working for people who are new to the business as they are.
It's a different process, because I think possibly they like to get involved in a way that get more involved, shall we say, in the process, which is not necessarily something that we are used to in the UK. I think we're often used to less being allowed to kind of get on with it and not have input from many different sides, I guess.
Too much micromanagement.
Yes.
Trusted.
Yes.
And then there's 6 episodes, and then casting begins, and Susie gets a call.
I get a call, and quite often you start with a new series that you have a star on board, so you've got something to move forward in. We had a complete blank sheet, so you have to look for the jewel in the crown to how to start selling this to agents. And of course, the jewel in the crown is Debbie Horsfield. And gosh, you know, when you have all those 6 amazing scripts to start with, and you start talking to agents, and then we were lucky quite early on to have Tuppence and Francesca Annis. So when you've got 2 Class A actresses, you can then start taking it to other people saying, well, look, this is the class act we've already got. And the pressure tends to release a little bit if you've got some profile people. And then you can look outward in finding actors that are newish to television, because we found gorgeous Eleanor here. And after I Zoomed with her for Winifred, I remember calling up everyone and saying, we just found Winifred. You know, and that was so exciting. And with Owen Igihon, who plays Isaac, it was his first telly not long out of the National Youth Theatre and University. And with the boys, with Jolien and Soames, actors of a certain profile of at quite a young age want to be the starring vehicle, you know, whether that's Endeavour or Luther, the title of the series. And we didn't have that because we have an ensemble series. So you have to take the net a bit wider, which we took to Australia. And we found the amazing Joshua Orpin, who fortunately has a British mother who was born here. So the British passport, because you have to obviously propose to equity. If you have somebody who isn't English, why are you casting this person against other actors that are available to work here? So we just got very lucky. And then the more people you have, the more people you can entice, because we've got Tuppence, we've got Francesca, we've now got Stephen Moy, we've got Jack Davenport, we've got the amazing Eleanor Tomlinson, and then it just rolls and rolls and rolls. And the smaller parts are always the hardest parts to cast. And if you've noticed in that episode, the 2 people playing the Carteret children have no lines at all, but they're such good actors. And I think a lot of you laughed when you saw Horatio's expression and on the not liking the chocolate. And those are just as important as your leading actors.
And it is a big ensemble cast to bring together.
It's a huge ensemble cast, absolutely.
And where did Danny come from? Because I know Danny doesn't come from a traditional acting background.
Danny actually happened to be living in Australia. He isn't Australian, and he had a British agent who had spoken to me about him. But we actually cast both Joshua and Danny from Zoom auditions in Australia, because that's where they were at the time. So being able to do chemistry reads with Tuppence was really hard, because they were obviously in a complete different time zone. And Tuppence was in the theatre at the time as well.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Good memory.
And Tuppence, this is different to so many of the things you do on stage, and what attracted you? What made you be one of the people that were then able to entice people in? What brought you in so quickly and so soon in the process?
You do that thing as an actor. You, well, who else is doing it? Or what's what? And then you kind of wait for this sort of, and then when you're the first person to come on board, which I think I was one of the first two, or the first person.
Absolutely.
In that case, it's usually because you understand the quality of the rest of it, and I knew that Debbie was writing it, and Mammoth's history and PBS, and also the source material is so brilliant. So you kind of understand that there is already a certain quality there. And I mean, my first thought was like, well, I'm not going to attract any other talent, so you need to quickly get someone else.
Not
Francesca
screaming with delight when you said yes.
Well, I'm glad you got Francesca pretty soon afterwards. But yeah, so it's. Yeah, you understand the pedigree of the project, I think, immediately, and we're so we're old hats at doing period, aren't we? Here, so you kind of that's always really exciting when there's a new adaptation of something which is such a kind of beloved classic. I mean, there's always that sort of anxiety about is it going to be compared to versions that have come before? But actually, who cares? Because
But also,
there's always a
your
new
character
version.
didn't exist in any
Exactly,
of
so
those
there was
other
never
versions
that
as well.
comparison available.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's always a really, I think if there's lots of versions of a period text, then usually there's something very specific about that, not only about the writer that brings their own sort of lens to it, but also about the time that we're living in. Having a version in the 60s and the 90s and now, it's such different times we're living in, it's such different techniques that are used in filming, and it's such a different society that you're appealing to. And now we've had so many different kinds of period drama which are pushing boundaries, and I think it sort of opens up a whole world where you can be quite original with it. And I think it was, just knowing that it was Debbie's voice and how much she wanted to bring the women to the forefront was really exciting.
And your character, who doesn't spend all of this series being beautifully well loved by everybody, is quite a challenging role, because you're not being the heroine, you're not being the person who everybody's gonna love.
Yeah.
So you're not quite the villain of the piece either.
No, but that's, I think, the appeal.
Nuanced...
Yeah, that was the appeal behind the writing as well. As soon as I read Frances, I felt, I think I know what to do with her, and I loved that that she was sort of, there was nothing black and white about her. She sort of danced between being a genuinely warm-hearted, good person who is going through a really difficult situation and is kind of sometimes forced into making decisions which aren't necessarily morally sound sometimes, but I think that they're always the most fun to play, those kind of characters that are, that have that nuance and that are able to dance that line. And it's actually very frequently not the sort of protagonist which is the most fun to play, because they're often the good person that you are following and that you want to be on side with. So that's the great thing about an ensemble show like this, is that you get so many different flavours, and I think that there's always someone that the audience can be rooting for, even if they hate this character, they love this one. I think that's the fun thing about it.
And long days when they came to the shoot, corsets and hairdos, and
hats, all of it.
Starting
and we also, someone geniusly came up with the idea of filming it in the summer, which is in a studio, and quite hot summers, and especially for the ladies being in corsets and velvet and wool and outfits up to here, and then wigs and hats, and just you couldn't get any hotter if you tried. But it's kind of, it's always great to have that physical, I guess, that restrictive element to your costume, because it lends itself to how women carried themselves and how restrictive it was for women in those times. So it's sort of, it absolutely helps. But sometimes you have to really steel yourself on the longer days. Lots of chocolate buttons to get us through. That's the secret.
And Eleanor, coming in and knowing that Tuppence was already on board.
Doesn't care.
And you did a Zoom audition with Susie and
Yeah.
Just me, I think.
It was just you.
Yeah.
It was very quick, and it was the first, for me, it was like the first, up until this point, had mainly done theatre, and then the pandemic happened, so didn't do theatre for a while. And then was trying to work out, like, what, do I keep doing this? Like, there's nothing happening. Like, how do I get a foot in? And I was living in London at the time, and I had lived in Bristol before, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna move back to Bristol and live my life, and we'll see what happens. And I kid you not, within a month of moving here, I get this email from Susie with 6 episodes, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to like a page of dialogue where you don't know who's who. You don't really know who your character is, and they're like, here's a vague introduction because we can't tell you what it is. And I was just so pumped. I was so excited, and my poor husband had to deal with me waiting to hear back from Susie, and I just thought it'd be a really long process, but I was so fortunate and very grateful that it was just one audition, because I think I would have died. I was so nervous, and I just couldn't quite believe my luck that I love period drama. I've grown up watching period drama, and it felt really special to be back in Bristol, be able to work from my house in a way, and also get the chance to be part of a big ensemble and learn so much, but also just I felt I think really excited by the female perspective on it as well, because so often just women don't necessarily get to be funny or don't necessarily get these layers. You're either, you know, the whore or the virgin, like, and then or just the fat funny one, and that's like it. And it was so fun to, I think all the women in this series have like, they're really agile, that they could do anything, and people underestimate them a lot. So there's this sense that, you know, Winifred, you know, she, if it was Succession, like, she would be Shiv, like, she would take over if she could. But she's playing it cool, you know, and I think having that subtext in the script, and then also Tom, who plays Monty, is so much fun to work with, and is an old hat at this kind of stuff, and we just had an absolute blast finding the silliest thing to do. And yeah, it's been a real joy, and I am really proud of it as well. Yeah, very grateful to you.
We're
Susie.
very proud of you.
Yes. And a big ensemble cast has pros, and there are some things you have to deal with too. You know, there's a bit of downtime on set. There's, you know, you may be in all day, but you may only have certain bits that are on you. And how's everybody coping with that? Or how did everybody cope with the long days, but not tons of focus on you every day?
Well, it's actually, we love it because
Yeah.
we all really get on. So it's like
We chat a
it's
lot.
when someone comes to say you have to go to set, we're like, what? What do you mean?
We play a
We're
lot
having
of
so much
games.
fun. Lots of games, and yeah, it's really, you know, it's that sort of boring thing that people always say when they do a show, and it's like a family. But I think we really all get on as a group, and all still see each other in between, and it's that doesn't always happen. So I think that we're really lucky in that way.
Yeah.
That is a testament also to your casting.
And nice age ranges as well, so
Yeah.
it really does feel like a family.
We've got everything covered. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We've got the kind of disapproving dads.
Yes.
And we've got like the naughty young ones.
The young ones coming in.
Yeah.
And the elder statesman of Susan Hampshire.
Yes.
Exactly.
Who is just.
She
Yeah.
was 88.
She's
88.
87 when she did that. It was in the first series of the Forsytes in the 60s.
She does 10,000 steps a day.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Refuses to sit down once she's got her corset on. Won't take the corset off. She's remarkable and slightly
Does her
terrifying.
own makeup and pin curls for her wig. It's amazing.
Yes, daunting she is. Definitely daunting. And I know there's one member of the ensemble cast who doesn't meet with universal approval. The dog.
Pomeranian
Everybody's
story.
rolling their eyes. The poor dog.
I've been asked to. Actually, I told Michael, who was the associate producer last year, because Jack Davenport complained horribly about this dog because it just pants all the time. So
There's a lot of ADR to
Yes.
get rid of the panting.
So I said to Michael, oh, don't worry, because in the book, the dog isn't in the book at all. He said, but in the book, the dog dies, and then Emily just has it stuffed and gets wheeled around. So I told him this, and he actually believed me, and he actually repeated this. He was repeating this sometimes. Yeah, because in the book, the dog dies and it gets wheeled around.
Funny.
They wish.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
wishes.
I think that's what's lovely, like, because I know it sounds like Jack's complaining for himself, but this sort of is testament to how we get on so well. Like, he and Naomi, he just really values what Naomi does so much.
Yes,
and he knows
he
that
does.
Naomi's going to spend all her life in ADR.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, she's giving an amazing performance, and that dog is just panting through the whole thing. And that sums up his heart really well.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
I'm going to say thank you very much to the cast and to Susie, and bring on our designer and location manager, if that's okay, guys. And then you can come back for questions afterwards. This is Andy, our location manager, our supervising location manager,
Thank you.
and Dav, our production designer. I don't think you're the supervising production designer, are you? Just production
No,
designer.
just
You don't need
designer,
that.
yeah,
You don't
yeah.
need that.
You've got
extra
time
word.
yet. You've got time yet. Stick at.
So, who started first on Series 1? Cast your minds back. I know you've already done Series 2, and so it's hard to remember.
I don't know. We met.
It was pretty much the same
Same
day,
time,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
I don't know who got employed first, but we started the same day. We started the same day.
You were given 6 episodes and told to crack on.
Yeah.
And how does one crack on in that situation? What's the start for you, Dav?
We met each other, gave ourselves a hug. I thought, here we go.
A blossoming romance ever since, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the first stage though, Dav? Do you sit down and do breakdown and do mood boards?
Yeah,
or-
no, definitely break down the locations, and then I think we probably had a chat about what we thought were locations and sets, and then I think we would have had those chats as well with probably Sarah and Minu, you know, to just check we're all on the same page, and then Andy sort of started putting his head, thinking about where to look at, and yeah, then we spent a day out on the road, didn't we?
Yeah, we met very early in the January, and we spent a day in Bristol driving around, and I'm just showing him places that I know that I think might work, that I've had an idea from.
And what was the first location you recce'd?
Funnily enough, the very first location we looked at was a lovely little street up in Clifton called Vivian Terrace, that some of you out there may have recognised in the show. And if you want me to go into the story of Vivian Terrace, Ben, I can.
I think this would be
No,
as,
do, because
as
it's
as an example of
yes.
how
Yeah.
things work and how things develop, and how there's not like it's going to be this and then it's going to be this. And then
Because
Yeah.
it's never as easy, is it,
Yeah.
as the first thing
as,
you
as
see.
a tale of how
I mean, okay, yeah.
development, how things develop and ideas develop.
You always go on a bit of a journey with it. And just before I go on, I know it's a bit of a love-in for Debbie, but let me just say that she is absolutely amazing. Not only is she a really nice person, but those 6 episodes were all, you could tell, written by a really, really amazing writer. They were just a joy to read. So I came up with a lot of ideas, and after speaking with Daff, and we arrived at Vivian Terrace on day 1, I thought it would be, for Bristol and what Bristol could offer, I thought it would be absolutely perfect for Fitzallen Terrace. And we looked at a few in that area, and as if most of you are from Bristol, if you're from Bristol, you'll know that there are small pockets in that area that are very similar. And we looked at that one, and that was both of our favourites, I think, because of that style. And I think we actually have a few of the owners of some of those main hero houses here tonight, so thank you very much, you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Almost styled a little bit like Buckingham Palace, you know, with these pillars and then the offset balcony and everything, and it just looked amazing. So we looked at this, and he really liked it, and then we went down that process for a little while. But it was written to be very Stockwell White, very Regent's Park, very, very London. So we went down this whole journey of looking at a place called Chester Terrace in London, right on Regent's Park. And we went down this process for a long, long time. So everything in Bristol for that particular location was sort of put to one side. And as we went down this journey and we looked into doing Chester Terrace, we realised that it was just going to be impossible, not only for us all leaving Bristol, but financially, for people in that area agreeing to let us film there, and all these different factors. And actually, Debbie went out one night and looked around that area and said...
Well, first of all, we went to look at the Chester Terrace, and I remember looking at it and going, oh my God, this is so grand.
It was just too much.
This is actually grander than I had envisaged, because obviously the Forsytes are wealthy, but this was like... they'd have to be billionaires.
It was the next level.
It was the next level, but from what I could tell, there was a sort of an agreement that that's where it would be. So I was sort of a bit surprised. Anyway, then what then happened was we were in Bristol for pre-production, and I happened to be staying in the Avon Gorge Hotel, and I walked to the Ivy that night actually, and I'm thinking, these houses look much closer to what I thought the Forsytes should. I wonder why we're not filming in Bristol. And then the word came back that some people had felt that the stone of the houses in Bristol, audiences would immediately recognise that it was not London. And I was going, well, I don't recognise it. I don't know anybody who would be going, oh, that's definitely not London stone. Yeah. So then I said, isn't there anywhere in Bristol that we could use? And then you went, well,
Turned round
actually,
with the laptop and went, well, there's this one that we looked at on day
the
one.
very first thing that you looked at.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yes.
Well, and there was me that night knocking on the doors.
Yeah.
Hi guys, let us in, please. And that's where I met a lot of the owners that are here, Michael and Jiva and Keith and Alan, who were phenomenal throughout
Honestly,
as well.
we are so grateful because it's the perfect
it's
for us.
perfect,
Yeah.
and it was an amazing place to work as well. And I think you all agree as well on screen. It looks
wonderful.
amazing.
Yeah.
So having been there on day one, to look at it, day one of prep, how many days before the shoot was this decision finally taken?
It was actually really quickly, wasn't
Yes.
it? It was maybe how long did we have? 6 weeks maybe or something since the decision to
Yeah.
film. And normally we'd have a lot longer, but from the turnaround was really quite quick, wasn't it?
The turnaround to shooting there, or the turnaround from day one?
Turnaround from the decision to the shoot day for something like that, I think was really quite quick.
Yeah, we had to build the porticos.
The portico,
We had to build the porticos on the
All
front.
that, yeah.
And paint.
And
paint
you'd been
front.
building the sets already based on the London location.
Yeah, the sets were based on the London location. Yeah.
Nobody noticed that, did
So
they?
we ended up having to change all the shapes of the windows and everything
Yeah.
just before
Yeah.
filming. Yeah.
So something that could have been very simple and a straight line was slightly wonky in its where you ended up.
Nobody knows we've got one extra window, and that was it.
No,
two actually.
poetic life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure. I mean, you're creating a world for series one, but it's a series. Series one is always an anticipation on a show like this of there being a series two, and of there being a series three, and of there being a series four. How was that during prep, knowing that so many eyes were on you both, wanting to get this right because of the consequences could be so fantastic for the series, but also for filming in Bristol, and that's a lot of pressure to have to build a world that's going to have the legs to go for 4, 5, 6 episode series.
Yeah, and for us, department-wise, the biggest pressure was Forsytes and Co. for that first series, because we planned on it being a location. I think when we did our initial list, the interior of the houses were going to be set builds, and then the Forsytes and Co would always be a location, and we just never found we'd find something that had a good lobby, or we'd find something that had good offices. We never found something that actually worked together, and we desperately needed those links in the story. So it was sort of, and I think there may have been some schedule issues coming towards the start of filming, where we just sort of decided, let's just build it, and we just went for it.
And we were first in.
And that's what we started.
Week,
Yeah, I think we built Forsytes and Co in 3 weeks.
It was amazing walking into it. Actually, I mean, it's always one of my favourite things where I walk onto, that scene that I spent in my office typing away, and then you walk into it, and it was amazing.
It was the ticker tape machines.
Yeah, the ticker tape machines. We
amazing.
got
It just
really
brought it
excited.
to life. Didn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. I mean, for me, the pressures is what it always is, really. Any time you're in the public domain and you're in residents' houses and things, it's making sure that you are taking care of their house, taking care of their street.
Or chaos the art department will cause.
Yeah, and making promises for the art department and then trying to cover up, and doing what you can. But it's building relationships and building relationships with the owners, and again making sure that you're treating it like it's your own house, and with huge amounts of help with the Bristol Film Office, who are incredible, along with all the other council departments that you build those relationships with. Because if you don't build those relationships up and do what you promise and work together, when it comes to the next season, they might turn around and say, sorry, you didn't ask me for permission for that, or you didn't do this right. So you have to do things right, and you have to work with the right people, and if you build up those relationships really well, then there's no reason why those people wouldn't welcome you back. So that's the pressure from my point of view, is to do things right, do things well, and be a man of my word, sort of thing.
And allow there to be a series 2 and a series 3, so
Yeah.
you can come back.
And so far so good, touch wood. We've been allowed to do a season 2, so you heard that, season 3, season 4 and season 5, guys, if you're ready.
And some of the locations that you go to aren't just one set. So I know that Lee Court Did you do 3 different things there?
Yeah. Lee Court was one of many places that we did multiple, which is always good for both of us if you can do it, because the art department can go in, who are amazing at what they do, what they create. They can go in there and they can put the whole team in there and do 2 or 3 different places. But from me as well, I can, have my whole team managing that place and do 2 or 3 different places. And then when it comes to the shoot, I think what's most important for the amazing cast as well is to have more time there. If they're moving about and learning to be in different places, if they can be in one place, settle down, then they get to concentrate more on their characters and more time on camera, which is always, I think, a benefit to everybody, isn't it, having more time on camera. And Lee Court was one. We did a Venice hotel room, an opera house, and believe it or not, we did the Epsom Derby at Lee Court, as you do. And places like Bowood as well, we did multiple sets in there, a beautiful place. We did that on several occasions where we did multiple places. And Bristol was amazing for that as well. Lots of options for
the streets as well. Wasn't it?
Yeah, lots of streets where you do one street down here, and then you would turn and do a different sort of set there. So you'd have Soho down one street, and then you would have a department store on another street just round the corner. And it's trying to utilise what Bristol has, because as amazing it is, it's all in a fairly tight area. So you have to really utilise that. But again, with the art department being so amazing, you can do that.
But just with our schedule and budget, we have to have that. It's not, we can't be moving every day to 3 different places, and we can't afford the teams to be dressing in all the different places. So I think always looking for more than one location more than one set in one location helps.
I've just seen Susie standing up in the background, which means that I'm going to vacate the stage and invite you 3 back on again to answer questions from the audience. And I think there'll be a roving mic, and we'll point it if anybody has any questions. But thank you very much to you 3 and to everybody else.
Thank you, Ben.
You.
Thanks, Ben. Good man.
First, this is for Debbie. As a writer and fan of period drama, what advice would you give to us writers out there who are often faced with the period drama is too hard to make answer?
I mean, it's true that it is expensive. There's always kind of, for me it was a big learning curve. Prior to this, I did Poldark, but my God, this was a learning curve in terms of just simply the practicalities, actually, of realising that scenes that I'd been setting, in the morning, going into the afternoon, going into the evening, that the women had to change costume 4 and 5 times. If we were being historically accurate, they'd have to be changing costume 4 and 5 times during the story day. I mean, that's just a tiny practicality, but I guess in terms of why I still think period drama is worth doing and worth pursuing is, yes, it is more expensive, and yes, there's going to be people saying, oh, well, it's too expensive to make. But in the end, what I love about it is, because previous to this, I'd always written my own work, and it was always contemporary. And the great discovery about period drama is that actually the things that matter to us as an audience now mattered, if you set something in the 16th, 17th, whenever you set it, it's still the same things that it's rivalry, it's love, it's competition between siblings, it's revenge, it's all of those things. None of those things ever go out of fashion. So it doesn't really matter whether you set it in something that has nice frocks or something in costumes where you can pick them up, out of Primark. The concerns are still the same, and I think there will always be an appetite for period drama because of that.
Thank you.
Thanks. I was really fascinated to learn that this is set before the books, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I wondered, how did you come up with the process of creating an entire story that came before that? Did you work from the starting point backwards, or did you have multiple things which sort of wove together to that starting point?
I guess I think the process was, it was to look at which of the characters, because as I say, there have been other adaptations, wonderful adaptations, so why try and go and do yet another adaptation? So what I looked at was, what was it about that period, and what was it about some of those storylines that really interested me, and which of the characters that didn't get a lot of kind of screen time within the books, which of those really interested me, and I kind of moved. That was my starting point, really. So as I was saying about the character of Frances, doesn't exist in the book, but that gives so much possibility of what might a woman in her position and her role, what might her life be like. And so that's really the characters were really the starting point. Obviously, I have actually used some versions of some of the storylines in the book, and you'll recognise, if you know the books, you will recognise some of the characters as coming from the books. But you know, a character like Soames, for instance, who is seen as quite a kind of villainous character, but he really interested me as somebody who's very much a product of that era, and I guess I wanted to kind of explore what produces a man like that. What's his family background? I'm always really interested in writing about families and how each generation is doing its best, but actually somehow manages to inflict terrible damage on the generation that comes after us. I think that was the key thing that really fascinated me about the books, and I just wanted to kind of explore that. So that was my starting point, really.